Hi guys, welcome to a new kind of vegan cooking channel. My name is Esther and I'm going to show you guys all of my Nicaraguan inspired vegan recipes. So for my first episode, I wanted to introduce you guys to our typical dish or a typical breakfast, which is something really hearty, quite heavy, but it's so good. So I'm gonna start off by making something that's called GUISO, which is a vegetable stew. And I'm also gonna make refried beans and rice, which is called gallo pinto. And that is another very traditional Nicaraguan dish. Since I'm making several things at once, I'm gonna go ahead and start cooking everything. Depending on how much you're gonna make, you wanna make sure you have at least one squash per person because it does cook down. So my vegetable stew has onions, tomato, and peppers. I love adding green peppers to any sort of vegetable dish because it gives it a heartier flavor. So while my veggies cook down, I'm gonna start on my refried beans and rice. So all you're gonna do is start with some chopped onion into your pan. We're gonna season both things. I have some pink Himalayan salt here. I love my food really salty, but obviously I have to try to control the amount of salt I put in it. The trick with our rice and beans is that you really need to fry your onions really well. So you need to add a good bit of olive oil. I love using extra virgin olive oil. It's, in my opinion, it tastes the best and it's the best for you. So we're gonna add our beans and it's already smelling so amazing. So we're gonna let this cook for a while. I would say you can leave it for about 10 minutes, let it fry up. Now for the star ingredient of the vegetable stew, we're using pipian. This is a squash, and it's a very special variety that grows here in Nicaragua. You can't really find this anywhere else, I don't think so. I've lived in many places and I've never been able to find anything like it, but you can use yellow or even zucchini if you can't find this type of squash. So I'm just gonna add that to my pot. You can chop it up a lot smaller than I did. I like it quite chunky because I love the texture of the squash, so I don't want to get rid of it. Now that's going to cook for about 7 minutes. We don't want to overcook the squash, but we want to leave it soft enough but tender to where you feel a little bit of bite. And my beans are ready to receive the rice. This is just basic boiled rice with a little bit of onion. I don't tend to eat rice on its own. If I'm gonna eat rice, it's with my beans. This is what the vegetable stew looks like. It's so simple, but it's so flavorful, and it was so easy to make. This is like something that you can make actually really quickly. Now, here are my rice and beans. I've turned off both. This has fried for about 10 minutes, and I always keep tossing it in the pan, making sure that it doesn't burn. And I had it on about medium-high heat because I don't want it to get too crispy or caramelized. It's just the perfect balance of dry and fried, if you know what I mean. If you're using canned beans, you can save the liquid from your canned beans and add some to your rice or your gallo pinto as it's cooking so that you can keep hydrating it. So I'm just setting aside my rice and beans as well as my vegetable stew, and I'm gonna use a new pan and we're gonna make my tofu scramble. My tofu scramble is so easy and it is so tasty. I don't like to spend too much time on tofu because as long as you put some flavor into it, it's gonna taste really good. So I'm starting off with olive oil. I'm adding some onion to my pan and we're gonna let this cook down for a bit, and then I'm gonna add my fresh tomato. Now, traditionally, people here in Nicaragua, we eat our eggs scrambled, but we always add onion and tomato to that scramble so it looks really colorful, it looks beautiful. So I take that same recipe and apply it to my tofu because it just gives it so much flavor. Even when I used to eat eggs, I never really liked just eating plain scrambled eggs. I loved adding tomato and onion to it because it's the Nicaraguan way, and I'm always gonna try to make stuff as Nicaraguan as I can because it reminds me of home. So now I'm just gonna add my tomato to that, and we're gonna let that cook down for a bit. Now I'm gonna add some pink Himalayan salt. Like I said before, I like my food salty. I have some garlic and onion powder here, and this is just to add a little bit more flavor. You can add fresh garlic if you want. I prefer using the powdered version because I feel it's a bit more mellow, so you can work with it. And last but not least, I have some turmeric because turmeric is gonna make my tofu look yellow. And it also does add some really nice flavor. So I'm just gonna cook this until the onions are translucent and my tomato is nice and soft. Then I'll add my tofu, and that is pretty much it for the tofu scramble. Like I said, it's such a fast recipe. But in the meantime, I'm gonna show you guys how I fry up my sweet plantains. So this is the sweet plantain I'm using. It's ripe, but it's not overly ripe. You can get it at your supermarket when it's really brown or spotty, but I like it this way. So I'm just gonna cut off both ends, run my knife down the side, the front and the back, and then I'm just gonna peel it. And I love sweet plantains. They are probably my favorite carb. If I'm making rice and beans or pico de gallo or something like that, I'm always going to have some plantains on hand. So I like to cut my plantains into a diagonal. I feel like you get more surface area that way and it just looks prettier on your plate. So I'm just gonna go ahead and place them into my hot oil. You literally cannot go wrong with some sweet plantain. So now for my tofu, I'm just gonna grab, I have firm tofu. So all I'm gonna do is just crush it with my hands right into the pan. So now that my tofu is all mixed up, I'm just gonna let it sit there for about 5 minutes. I'm just trying to warm through the tofu, and we're gonna flip our plantain. I leave the plantain face down for about 3 minutes and then I'll flip it depending on how hot your oil is. You don't wanna burn it, but you do wanna get a nice crust on the outside. You want it to be nice and golden brown. That way you can get a really nice crisp and it's soft on the inside. All right, so some of my plantains are ready to flip. Look at that, golden brown. It looks beautiful and it's nice and soft on the inside. The tofu is completely ready, so I'm gonna go ahead and start plating all of my delicious Nicaraguan breakfast staples. So I'm just gonna add some tofu to my plate. This breakfast is really nutrient dense. You're getting your protein, carbs, lots of carbs. You have your veg. It's really such a complete dish. This is something that I eat every 3 days because I like waking up and having like a nice big meal. I do work out, so I always wanna replenish all the fuel. So I'm gonna grab some of my stew and place it right next to my tofu. How incredible does that look? And we're also gonna grab some of our beans or our gallo pinto. If you've ever wondered what a Nicaraguan breakfast looks like, this is it. And you definitely wanna leave your plantains for last because you wanna serve them hot. If you want to, if you have time, you can put them on a napkin to absorb some of the extra oil, but I don't mind it, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add it straight to my dish. And now for the last part of this dish, we have avocado. I need my healthy fats. And who doesn't love avocado nowadays? I think it's pretty much everyone's obsession. So I'm just gonna go straight in and cut a slice of my avocado, and look how beautiful that is. So fresh and so creamy. So I'm just gonna take the peel off, just like so. And I'm gonna add it straight to my dish, just like this. So this is my Nicaraguan breakfast feast. It is so delicious. It's such a complete meal. It's got your protein, your carbs, your macronutrients, your vegetables, your healthy fats. It is such a delicious dish, and it's also really quick to make. This is something that you can also make ahead of time. You can have your rice and beans ready in the fridge, and then you can just fry up your onion. I love meal prepping. This is actually a really good dish to meal prep. If you want to have your rice and beans ready for the week in a separate Tupperware, you can have your vegetable stew in a separate Tupperware, and your tofu, of course, you can also meal prep. The plantains are really easy to make. They're so quick to whip up. You just cut it and throw it in your hot oil, and it's pretty much ready. You can also bake them if you wanted to, but I am just gonna go ahead and taste this. I feel like I need to take a picture of it first, but I'm just gonna go ahead and taste a little bit. It's so good. It's so good. I'm literally gonna sit down and have this for lunch because it's delicious. The tofu is a surefire, it never goes wrong. And I'm just gonna have a little bit of plantain. It's also good. So I'm just gonna leave that right there because I don't wanna eat it all. But that is it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I have so many more videos coming for you guys. I have so many ideas, so many recipes. So please subscribe and like this video. You can also turn on the post notifications so that you can get a little email every time I post a new video. I am going to be focusing on vegan, Nicaraguan inspired dishes, but I also have a love for all types of cuisines. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys all of my favorite recipes. Come back next week for a new video. Bye.